Todd Monken may have just said something that changes everything for the Cleveland Browns, and most people completely missed it. During a recent interview, Monken dropped a line that sounded simple on the surface, but the deeper meaning behind it could reshape the entire future of Cleveland football. Instead of talking about forcing players into a rigid system or making rookies earn it through outdated methods, he spoke about adapting to the talent you actually have. That may not sound shocking at first, but for the Browns, it's massive. This franchise has spent years cycling through quarterbacks, coaches, and offensive plans that never seemed to fit the players on the roster. Time after time, young quarterbacks were expected to step into broken situations, learn systems not built for them, and somehow survive the chaos. Most didn't. Now, for the first time in a long time, it sounds like Cleveland could be flipping that formula entirely. And that's where Shedeur Sanders enters the picture. Instead of asking whether Shedeur can fit into an old Browns blueprint, Monken's comments suggest something far more interesting. What if the Browns are preparing a blueprint around him? That would be a dramatic shift in philosophy. Shedeur brings confidence, poise, mobility, and the kind of spotlight that instantly raises expectations. Some doubt whether he's ready, others believe he's being underestimated. But if Cleveland's coaching staff truly plans to maximize what he already does well rather than tear him down and rebuild him from scratch, that changes the conversation overnight. Because talented quarterbacks fail all the time in bad systems. But when talent meets the right structure, everything can move fast. And make no mistake, fans are paying attention. The moment Monken spoke, speculation exploded online. Some believe it means Shedeur has a real path to starting sooner than expected. Others think it's off-season hype that will disappear by September. But this doesn't feel like random coach talk. It feels like a signal. A signal that Cleveland is tired of repeating the same mistakes. A signal that the Browns know the league has changed. And a signal that Shedeur Sanders may be walking into a situation far different from what critics expected. If that's true, then this isn't just another rookie quarterback story. It could be the beginning of the biggest Browns reset in years. And what happens next might shock the entire NFL. Sometimes one sentence tells you more than an entire press conference. When Todd Monken said coaches have to mold and adapt to who you have, most people probably heard a normal football answer and moved on. But for anyone paying close attention, that quote may have revealed the real direction of the Cleveland Browns. Because those words represent the exact opposite of how Cleveland has often operated. For years, the Browns became known for forcing quarterbacks into systems that didn't match their strengths. Different coaches came in with different playbooks, different philosophies, and different demands. Instead of adjusting to the player, they expected the player to transform overnight. Some quarterbacks were told to become pocket passers. Others were asked to be game managers. Some were thrown into chaos with weak support and expected to save everything immediately. Most of those experiments failed. That's why Monken's quote matters so much. He didn't talk about protecting his system. He didn't say players must conform to his style no matter what. He didn't use the usual language coaches often lean on when they want full control. Instead, he openly admitted that good coaching means adapting to the talent in front of you. That changes everything if Shedeur Sanders is truly part of the long-term plan. Because Shedeur doesn't need to become someone else to succeed. His game already has traits that translate: confidence under pressure, accuracy, timing, leadership presence, and the ability to create when structure breaks down. If Monken believes in adapting rather than rebuilding, then Cleveland may be preparing an offense that highlights those strengths from day one. That could mean quicker reads, more movement plays, spread concepts, cleaner decisions, opportunities for Shedeur to operate naturally instead of overthinking every snap. And that's where fans should pay attention. This may not be about whether Shedeur can survive the Browns system. It may be about whether the Browns are finally building a system smart enough to help a quarterback succeed. That's a completely different conversation than Cleveland has had in years. It also sends a message to the locker room. Players respond when coaches put winning above ego. If Monken is willing to shape the offense around what works instead of what looks good on paper, veterans notice. Young players notice. Confidence builds faster when people believe the staff is being practical instead of stubborn. Of course, words alone mean nothing until games begin. Every offseason has promises. Every team claims change is coming. But this quote felt different because it addressed the root problem directly. Not talent, not effort, not draft position. Vid. And if Todd Monken truly means what he said, then the Browns may finally understand what they missed for years. Quarterbacks don't just need talent. They need a system that sees them clearly. The Cleveland Browns haven't struggled at quarterback because talent never arrived. They struggled because talent kept walking into the wrong environment. For years, Cleveland became one of the most unstable places in football for a young quarterback. New coaches arrived with new plans. Coordinators changed systems. Front offices changed priorities. Expectations stayed high, but patience stayed low. Instead of building a steady path for development, the Browns often reset everything before progress could even begin. That kind of chaos destroys growth. Young quarterbacks need consistency. They need one voice, one structure, and a staff committed to helping them improve through mistakes. What Cleveland often provided was the opposite: multiple voices, constant pressure, and a fanbase desperate for immediate results after years of disappointment. That's a brutal combination. Many quarterbacks entered Cleveland carrying promise, only to leave with their confidence damaged. Some were rushed onto the field too early. Others were benched quickly after rough stretches. Some were asked to learn complex systems behind weak offensive lines while taking hits every week. When failure happened, the quarterback usually took all the blame, even when the foundation around him was broken. And once that cycle starts, it becomes hard to stop. Every new quarterback inherits the ghosts of the last one. Every interception becomes, "Here we go again." Every bad game becomes proof the franchise is cursed. That pressure builds before the player even has time to settle in. The Browns also chased short-term fixes for too long. Veterans were brought in as answers. Draft picks were sold as saviors. Coaches were expected to win fast. Instead of patiently building a modern offense around one young player, the team often searched for instant rescue. That rarely works in today's NFL. Quarterback success usually comes when organizations align coaching, roster building, and development around one clear vision. Cleveland, too, often looked like three different plans happening at once. That's why the past matters now. Because if Todd Monken is serious about adapting to the player instead of forcing the player to adapt to the system, then Cleveland may finally be addressing the real issue. It was never only about who played quarterback. It was about how they were being developed. And that's where Shedeur Sanders becomes interesting. If he enters a building with clearer leadership, smarter structure, and a coaching staff willing to maximize what he already does well, then he may avoid the traps that swallowed others before him. No quarterback can fix dysfunction alone. But one quarterback in the right environment can change everything. The Browns spent years searching for the right player. Now the bigger question is whether they've finally built the right situation. Because if they have, Cleveland's quarterback story could look very different this time. The NFL most people grew up watching is gone. The old version of football was built around power running, slow packing, and quarterbacks asked to stand in the pocket like statues. Coaches wanted conservative decisions, limited mistakes, and systems that controlled the clock more than they attacked defenses. Today's league is completely different. Now the smartest organizations build everything around the quarterback. Offenses move faster, Formations spread defenses across the field, playmakers attack space, and quarterbacks are expected to think quickly, throw accurately, move when needed, and create when the original play breaks down. That shift is exactly what Todd Monken was talking about. Modern players grow up in spread systems from high school onward. They learn shotgun formations, quick reads, option concepts, timing routes, and how to punish defenses in space. By the time they reach college, many quarterbacks have already played hundreds of snaps in systems closer to pro football than ever before. That means NFL teams can no longer pretend every young quarterback should be rebuilt from zero. The best coaches understand this. Instead of stripping away what a player already knows, they take those strengths and translate them upward. That's why the most dangerous offenses in football often look flexible, creative, and quarterback-friendly. And that's where Shedeur Sanders enters the conversation. Critics sometimes judge quarterbacks using outdated labels. They ask if he's a pure pocket passer or an elite runner, but modern football is that simple anymore. A quarterback doesn't need to be one extreme or the other. He needs to be functional in multiple ways. Can he process coverages quickly? Can he stay calm under pressure? Can he extend a play when protection fails? Can he make accurate throws on schedule? Can he lead the offense with confidence? Those questions matter more than 40-yard dash times. Shedeur's skill set fits the modern mold better than some people admit. He can operate from structure, but he can also improvise. He can make timing throws, but he can also create outside the pocket. He understands attention and pressure, which matters more than people realize at quarterback. That versatility is valuable in today's NFL. For the Cleveland Browns, recognizing this evolution is critical. If they evaluate quarterbacks through old-school standards, they risk missing what the league has already become. But if they embrace modern football, they can build an offense designed for speed, spacing, and decision-making. That's how teams rise fast. The quarterback is no longer just part of the machine. He is the machine. And if Cleveland truly understands where football is headed, then Shedeur Sanders may not be a risky fit at all. He may be exactly the kind of quarterback this era demands. A lot of quarterback prospects get discussed the same way every year. Big arm, strong athlete, raw upside, needs development. But Shedeur Sanders stands out for reasons that don't always show up in a scouting summary. What makes him different isn't just talent, it's how he plays the position. First, there's composure. Some quarterbacks look calm when everything is clean. Shedeur has shown the ability to stay poised even when the pocket collapses, the protection breaks down, or pressure starts flying from every direction. That matters in the NFL, where chaos is constant. A quarterback who panics under heat usually gets exposed fast. One who stays collected gives the offense a chance. That trait can't be taught easily. Then there's processing speed. Quarterbacking today is less about throwing the hardest pass and more about seeing the field quickly, recognizing leverage, reading coverage shifts, identifying blitz looks, and making the right decision in seconds separates starters from backups. Shedeur has shown flashes of that mental pace, which is why many evaluators believe his game can translate upward. He doesn't need every play to be perfect. He needs to make the next right choice. Another difference is confidence. Some young quarterbacks try to survive. Shedeur plays like he expects to belong. That mindset matters when stepping into a franchise like the Cleveland Browns, where outside noise can swallow players quickly. Pressure follows the Browns. Media attention follows him. Not every rookie can handle both at once. Shedeur seems built for spotlight environments. That doesn't guarantee success, but it removes one major obstacle. Then there's mobility, an area people often oversimplify. He may not be Lamar Jackson or the fastest runner in football, but modern mobility is about more than highlight reel speed. It's about sliding in the pocket, escaping free rushes, resetting angles, buying time, and throwing on the move. That kind of movement extends drives. And sometimes that's more valuable than raw rushing yards. He also carries leadership presence. Teammates tend to respond to quarterbacks who project belief, accountability, and calm energy. Coaches notice who commands huddles, who studies seriously, and who keeps the room steady after mistakes. Those invisible traits often decide who earns trust fastest. That's why Shedeur remains such an intriguing prospect. He's not just one thing. He's not only an athlete, not only a passer, not only a name. He brings a blend of traits that fit the modern game: poise, intelligence, confidence, enough mobility, and the willingness to handle pressure without shrinking from it. For Cleveland, that combination could matter more than any headline debate. Because the quarterbacks who last in this league usually aren't the flashiest. They're the ones who can think, lead, adjust, and stay calm when everything gets loud. And that may be exactly what makes Shedeur Sanders different. If Todd Monken truly means what he said about adapting to his players, then the Cleveland Browns may be preparing an offense that looks nothing like the version fans are used to seeing. For years, Cleveland offenses often felt predictable. Heavy formations, slow rhythm, long developing plays, and quarterbacks forced to carry too much under pressure. Too many drives stalled before they ever gained momentum. Too many pass plays looked difficult before the ball was even snapped. That may be changing. If Shedeur Sanders is part of the plan, the Browns could shift toward a system built on quick decisions, spacing, tempo, and movement. Instead of asking the quarterback to hold the ball forever, they may prioritize fast reads and clean throws that let playmakers work after the catch. That means slants, outs, crosses, screens, option routes, and rhythm concepts that punish soft coverage immediately. Simple doesn't mean weak. It means efficient. Another likely adjustment would be moving the launch point. Rollouts, bootlegs, half-field reads, and designed movement throws can make life easier for young quarterbacks while stressing defenders. It also allows Shedeur to use one of his underrated strengths, throwing accurately while adjusting outside the pocket. That can turn pressure into opportunity. Expect spread formations too. Modern offenses force defenses to declare coverage early by spreading the field with multiple receivers. That creates clearer pre-snap information for the quarterback and lighter boxes for the run game. It's one of the fastest ways to make an offense feel more explosive without needing superstar talent everywhere. And Monken understands that. But don't mistake modern concepts for softness. If Monken's words are real, the Browns still want physicality and discipline at the center of everything. That means receivers blocking hard, linemen playing aggressively, backs finishing runs, and quarterbacks operating with command. So the identity could become this: modern structure with old-school toughness. That combination is dangerous, because many teams are either creative but inconsistent or physical but predictable. If Cleveland finds balance between both worlds, they become much harder to defend. A disciplined spread attack with tempo, motion, and quarterback confidence can wear defenses down fast. This is also why Shedeur's fit matters. He doesn't need to run 15 times a game. He doesn't need to throw 60-yard bombs every quarter. He needs an offense that values timing, poise, quick processing, and controlled playmaking. That sounds much closer to what Monken described than what Browns fans have watched in the past. Of course, plans on paper mean nothing until Sundays arrive. Execution decides everything. But if Cleveland truly builds around what their quarterback does well instead of forcing him into outdated habits, then this won't be another recycled Browns offense. It could be the smartest one they've built in years. And if that happens, the rest of the league may realize too late that Cleveland finally evolved. Every franchise turnaround usually comes down to one thing people underestimate: the right coach arriving at the right time. For the Cleveland Browns, that person could be Todd Monken. Talent matters in the NFL, quarterbacks matter even more, but without the right coach connecting everything, talent often gets wasted. Cleveland fans know that better than anyone. Over the years, the Browns have had players with ability, but too often the leadership around them lacked clarity, flexibility, or long-term direction. That's why Monken feels different. He doesn't come across as a coach, obsessed with protecting his ego or proving his system is smarter than everyone else. He talks about adapting, learning, and building around what players do best. That mindset alone separates him from many coaches who would rather blame players than adjust their scheme. And that difference can change a franchise quickly. Too many coaches in this league lose because they're stubborn. They call plays for the offense they wish they had instead of the roster standing in front of them. They ask quarterbacks to fit rigid structures that don't match their strengths. When it fails, they act surprised. Monken sounds like the opposite. He appears willing to evolve week to week, player to player, and situation to situation. If something isn't working, he adjusts. If a young quarterback processes better from shotgun looks, he leans into it. If tempo creates rhythm, he uses it. If movement throws help confidence, he installs them. That is how modern coaching wins. It's especially important for Shedeur Sanders. Young quarterbacks rarely need a genius speech. They need structure, honesty, and a coach who understands how to simplify the game without limiting talent. If Monken provides that, Shedeur's transition becomes far smoother than critics expect. There's also something else Monken brings: credibility. Players respond differently when they believe the coach actually knows how to help them succeed. Energy changes in the building, practices sharpen, accountability feels real, veterans buy in faster, young players trust the process more when the voice leading it sounds certain and prepared. That matters more than fans realize. Cleveland has often looked like a team searching for identity. Monken could give them one: tough, efficient, adaptable, disciplined, aggressive when needed. That kind of culture starts with coaching language turning into daily standards. And if he truly believes winning starts now, not 3 years from now, that urgency can wake up an entire roster. Of course, no coach is magic. Monken still needs players to perform, quarterbacks to develop, and the front office to support the vision. But sometimes the missing piece isn't another star player. It's the adult in the room who finally knows how to use everyone correctly. If that's what Todd Monken becomes for the Cleveland Browns, then Cleveland's biggest upgrade this season may not be on the field at all. The biggest surprise in Cleveland might not be that Shedeur Sanders made the roster. It might be how quickly he pushes for the starting job. Most rookie quarterbacks enter the NFL with a slow timeline attached to them. Fans are told to be patient. Coaches talk about development. Veterans are usually positioned as the safer short-term option. That's the standard script around the league. But this situation doesn't feel standard. The first clue is how much attention Shedeur is already receiving inside and outside the building. When a rookie quarterback becomes one of the most discussed players on the team before the season even begins, it usually means something real is happening behind the scenes. Coaches notice preparation, teammates notice confidence, front offices notice momentum. And momentum matters. The second clue is fit. If Todd Monken truly wants an offense built on quick processing, timing, adaptability, and calm decision-making, those are areas where Shedeur already draws praise. That doesn't mean he's a finished product. It means the traits the system may value most are traits he already shows. That can accelerate timelines fast. Then there's work ethic. Young quarterbacks who arrive early, study seriously, ask the right questions, and handle meetings like professionals often gain trust quicker than expected. Coaches may forgive physical mistakes. They rarely forgive mental laziness. If Shedeur is showing maturity and preparation daily, that can move him up the ladder much faster than fans realize. Another factor is the competition itself. If the veteran options in the quarterback room fail to separate clearly, The pressure to try the younger upside increases. NFL coaches are judged on wins, not patience speeches. If the room feels average and the rookie keeps progressing, calls for change grow louder every week. That's how surprise starters happen. There's also the energy factor. Teams sometimes rally around young quarterbacks because they represent possibility. A rookie starter can reset morale, excite the fan base, and inject urgency into the locker room. Players know a new chapter may be starting, and that feeling can become contagious. For the Cleveland Browns, that matters. Of course, none of this guarantees Shedeur starts immediately. Coaches still need consistency, command of the playbook, ball security, and proof he can handle NFL speed. They won't hand over the offense based on hype alone. But signs often appear before announcements do. Extra reps, positive comments, growing confidence from coaches, increased media buzz, strong preseason opportunities. Those details usually tell the story before the depth chart does. And right now, those signals are worth watching. Because if Shedeur Sanders keeps checking the boxes, the Browns may not wait nearly as long as people think. What looks impossible in June can become obvious by September. And if Cleveland believes he gives them the best chance to win, the rookie timeline disappears instantly. If this plan actually works, the Cleveland Browns won't just improve. They could shock the entire NFL. For years, Cleveland has been viewed through the same lens: unstable quarterback play, constant changes, and more hype than results. Because of that history, many people assume every new plan will fail before it even begins. But if Todd Monken builds the right offense and Shedeur Sanders develops quickly, that old narrative could collapse fast. And when narratives collapse, opportunity opens. First, the offense changes everything. If Cleveland finally gets steady quarterback play combined with a modern scheme, drives become more efficient, explosive plays increase, and the entire team benefits. Defenses stay fresher when the offense sustains possessions. Receivers suddenly look better. The run game becomes more dangerous. Even average rosters can look strong when the quarterback position is functioning at a high level. That's how franchises flip in one season. Then comes confidence. Winning teams often build momentum long before the standings show it. Players practice harder when they believe the system works. Coaches become bolder when trust grows. Locker rooms tighten when people feel progress is real. If the Browns start winning early, belief inside that building could become one of their biggest strengths. And Cleveland fans would feel it immediately. Few fan bases are more desperate for long-term stability at quarterback. If Shedeur shows promise and the team starts stacking wins, the stadium energy changes overnight. Home games become louder. National attention increases. The Browns stop being a cautionary tale and start becoming one of the league's most watched stories. That spotlight matters more than people admit. It affects free agents, league respect, media coverage, and how opponents prepare. Teams no longer circle Cleveland as an easy matchup. They start treating them like a real threat. Then there's the biggest outcome of all: identity. For too long, the Browns have been known more for dysfunction than direction. If this works, they finally gain a recognizable football identity: tough, modern, aggressive, disciplined, and led by a young quarterback with confidence. That kind of identity can last years. Of course, success wouldn't erase every problem overnight. Young quarterbacks hit rough patches. Coaches get tested once defenses adjust. Expectations rise the moment winning begins. But those are good problems. They mean the franchise has moved forward. And if Shedeur Sanders becomes the answer, while Monken proves to be the coach who unlocked it, Cleveland won't just have found wins. They'll have found relevance. The same people laughing now could soon be asking how they missed it coming. Because if this works, the Browns won't be the punchline anymore. They'll be the team nobody wants to face. Maybe the biggest story in Cleveland isn't about one quarterback. It's about whether the Cleveland Browns have finally learned from years of getting it wrong. For too long, this franchise repeated the same cycle. New quarterback, new coach, new promises, then confusion, pressure, disappointment, and another reset. Talent came through the building, but structure rarely stayed long enough for growth. Players changed, but the patterns stayed the same. That's why this moment feels different. This time, the conversation isn't only about who starts at quarterback. It's about philosophy. It's about whether Todd Monken can bring something Cleveland has lacked for years: clarity, adaptability, and a real offensive identity. Those things matter more than flashy headlines. If Monken truly believes in building around players instead of forcing players into broken systems, then the Browns may finally be addressing the root problem instead of blaming symptoms. That alone would be a major shift for an organization that has often looked reactive instead of prepared. And then there's Shedeur Sanders. Whether he starts immediately or later, his presence changes the timeline. He brings pressure, attention, and possibility all at once. Some see star potential, others see risk. But either way, he forces the Browns to think bigger than short-term survival. That can be powerful, because franchises stuck in mediocrity often need more than talent. They need belief, they need energy, they need a reason for players, coaches, and fans to feel something new is being built. Shedeur gives them that chance. Of course, none of this guarantees success. The NFL is ruthless. Good offseason ideas collapse every year, defenses adjust, injuries happen, young quarterbacks struggle. Coaches get second-guessed the moment losses begin. That reality isn't changing. But for once, Cleveland may be entering a season with something more valuable than hype: direction. And direction can become wins when the right people are leading it. If Monken's system connects, if the roster responds, and if Shedeur proves ready for the moment, then the Browns could become one of the league's most surprising stories. Not because of luck, not because of headlines. Because they finally modernized. Because they finally stopped chasing the past. Because they finally built something that fits today's game. So the real question isn't whether Cleveland used to fail. Everyone knows that story already. The real question is whether the Browns are about to write a completely different one. And if they are, the rest of the NFL may realize too late that the joke ended before anyone noticed.